Greetings YouTube, Captain Machine here, back for another video, and this is not a short, and this is definitely not an episode of the show. You can tell by the low quality that I'm filming in today. This is basically the first of what hopefully will be an ongoing series of daily vlogs, because they're easy to put out in terms of preparation time. Generally speaking, it's 1 or 2 takes, and I upload it through the iPad or the iPhone, which I'm using at the time. And we go from there, and I see what kind of reaction I get. And I thought I'd try and do one almost every day, because I usually have something to talk about every day in relation to something. I'm going to try and stay off the political topics and the religious topics, obviously, because they are utter minefields to navigate through. But I'm gonna meander from gaming occasionally. But I thought, given the fact that it's a gaming thing that I've always wanted to do, and always probably will be doing for the time being anyway, until I get bored of this and stop doing it, let's talk about board games, because last night we played some great board games in the form of Small Worlds and Carcassonne. Now, Carcassonne's an interesting game because it takes very little time to play. There's a lot of little nuances to it, and it's semi-cooperative, semi-screw your opponent over, which is kind of a weird one. But Small Worlds took a lot longer to play. It took about 2 or 3 hours. And it was so much fun. Without doing a proper review, all I can say is I highly recommend it, because first of all, the board and the game adapt to the number of players. In fact, it actually comes with, I think, 4 different boards, which you can use depending on how many players you have to show up, which is amazingly great. That is fantastic. Second, second, from there, what else? Oh, crikey, I forgot already. Second, it uses a very interesting mechanic, whereby being that it's all about the rise and fall of civilizations. So the units you start with aren't the units you're going to end the game with, and by the end of the game, not only will your units effectively disappear off the table, the initial units anyway, they've done their bit, they've scored you the gold that they needed to, but there's a potential that your opponent, depending on how many players are playing and how many civilizations decline, the opponent might end up playing the same units that you were playing at the start of the game. And that's really weird to me. It really freaked me out. Not in a bad way, but it's like, wow, this is actually thinking outside the box in terms of game design. So I was really up for that. Really good fun. So if you've got a spare like 30 or 40 pounds or whatever the equivalent is in dollars, and you want a good board game to play when you're not role playing, I recommend Small Worlds highly. Apparently there's an Underworld version of it, which I'm told if I'm going to get a copy of it, which I want to get a copy of it, I might as well get that one, so we've got at least 2 different variants we can play. And it's also kind of apt, considering how dark it is in here. I'm talking about the Underworld. Underdark, I mean. Basically, I'm all tongue-tied now, I do apologise. Yeah, Euro board games are really doing it for me at the moment, in a big way. I love Fantasy Flight stuff, I really do, and some of the board games that Coast put out, and various other companies around that sort of genre. But there is a certain something about how Euro board games are built, and how they're designed, and how they're done, and it really makes the designers clearly thought outside the box when they wrote this game, and it really sparks the imagination in the back of the head. Not only in terms of visualising in your brain what's going on around you in terms of the game, but also how you're having to think for new strategies other than the obvious ones like amass lots of power and then you ruffle stomp over your opponent, which is kind of what happens in Risk sometimes. So yeah, I'm really digging Euro games at the moment, and I highly recommend any gaming group. And if you are a role-playing group right now and you don't have some board games, then get some. Put together for them, buy them individually, buy them for yourself. And I don't mean Monopoly, I don't mean Scrabble, and I don't mean Jenga, or whatever it's called, or Yahtzee, although Jenga's kind of funny, I suppose. Either way, get some interesting games out there. There's some great websites and great resources telling you which ones are the good ones. Pulp Gamers, fantastic, that is a little podcast they do. If you type in board game reviews or board game blogs, you will find some great guys out there. My recommendation when you're looking at a game to decide whether you buy it is find at least 2 different reviews and read both of them, because they'll offer you vastly different ideas of how the game works, how the game is interpreted, how the game is played, and ultimately you might actually encounter a situation where two people disagree about a game, but generally speaking, the better reviewers will tell you why they just don't like a game or why they love a game, and you can use that to determine whether or not you think you would like it, because you might get the same impression, the same desires, the same wants out of a game. So yeah, I highly recommend, if you're a role player or any sort of game whatsoever, and there's a possibility, and there's always a possibility that not everyone will show up, I highly, 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 highly recommend that you go out and you buy. Is that? That is the shadow of my cupboard. I go out and go buy a board game, at least one, preferably several. Thanks for your time, guys. Once again, this is Tuesday the 14th of August, and I'm probably going to have to work out some kind of verbal intro to these videos. And as promised, not all of them will be in the dark.